Hey, Steve Magnante here at High-Octane Classics in Auburn, Massachusetts with a 1988 Camaro IROC Z convertible. Now, something most people don't know that the IROC Z convertibles were not built at Chevrolet. Rather, they started life as T-top CC1 optioned coupes, which were then sent to ASC, American Sunroof Company, for decapitation and to be converted into convertible. Now, the reason why they started with a CC1 T-top car was because they had additional bracing under the skin, which made the cars more rigid and less susceptible to a cowl shake, and when they were converted into convertibles. Now, ironically, in Fordland, the Fox Mustangs, for many, many decades, actually a decade and a half, the Fox Mustangs were built as coupes and then sent to specialty cars for conversion into convertibles off-site. So again, Camaro followed that pattern with the IROC and Camaro convertibles, as we see right here. Now, this one here has logos down here, the tune port injection. The base engine of these things was the 305 with a center port injection. Tune port's a little bit different, more power. And again, the beauty of the IROC is a 16-inch wheel, standard fare on the convertibles. And the hood on these things looks like it's very functional, like a vent, but they're purely ornamental. But again, front disc brakes on this. We'll get to the rear brakes in a second. There's a story to be told with that. But again, the front of these cars is beautiful. When I was a kid, I was born in 1964, so I was 20 or so when these things were out and about. And the IROC was built between 85 and 1990, and it's the International Race of Champions, which of course were coupes. But again, with the pizzazz of the IROC and the Camaro, Chevrolet says, let's make some roadsters. In total, 3,761 of these were built in 1988, so a very expensive car. At that point in time, $18,015, which was a bunch of money, getting close to Camaro or Corvette territory with that price point. But again, $5,000 more than an IROC coupe. So you paid $5,000 for the pleasure of having ASC cut the roof off and turn it into an open-air motoring machine. Let's pop the hood on this, and there's the inside release. I'll come around to the front after I'm done here and take a look at that motor, that tune port 305. There was also a 5.7 liter, the B2K engine, which was an option, but it was not available in the convertible. So let's pop this hood and have a look at that tune port injection 305. 230 horsepower, I believe, or 220 horse, I think it was at this point in time. But there it is, the 305. The Minnie Mouse, and again, the same basic size as a 350. And interestingly enough, the same tune port unit from the plenum to the runners to the throttle body was also used on a 5.7 as it was on this 305. You might think that it's a bit asthmatic or like a cork on a bigger motor like a 350, and indeed you'd be correct on that one. And one of the big upgrades with these, Axcel used to sell aluminum intake manifolds that had larger plenums and runners that would unleash some horsepower. These are 220 horse, I think that's what it was in their stock trim. And this one has air conditioning, standard feature on the IROC. Of course, power disc brakes up front, and power steering, of course, and a cold air system right here. And it takes air from beneath the grille, brings it into the throttle body right there. So it's a bit of a ram air. But with that said, the hood louvers here do nothing except sell Z28s. And if you look under the hood, we'll see that there's no way to have that air get into the engine. It's a pad, a silencing pad right there. But again, it's a great styling touch. And the IROC, of course, has a unique chin spoiler, the driving lights right here. And just a great example of the breed, well cared for. You could also get these with a 5-speed manual transmission. This one's an automatic. Let's go around to the side here and take a peek inside. Now, like all Camaros before, this is a 4-passenger car. It has bucket seats up front, and of course the back seat is a bisected bench, which is not something you want to sit in the middle of, so thus it's 2 seats in the front, 2 in the back. Power windows, of course, standard fare on the IROC. And the IROC logos are ever present. We see right here on the dash, IROC Z, the Z28. And again, the IROC was a model on top of the Z28, but they held hands, if you will. And let's go to the back. The wheels on this, of course, are beautiful. These are the IROC specific wheels, 16 inches. The coupes actually came with a 15-inch wheel. Only the convertibles came standard with the 16-inch wheel. You paid extra on a coupe, but these are the standard wheels. Of course, they're unidirectional. These are mounted, it says rear. There's also wheels for the rims for the front. This has drums in the back, and there was an optional J56, I think it was 4-wheel disc option for, I don't know, a couple $100. So there's a drum brake in the back. Good brakes anyways, all the way around. So we come around to the other side. Before we open the trunk, and speaking of that trunk, this is the year, actually one thing about the convertible, the deck spoiler has the third brake light right here. If you had a coupe, the brake light would be on the glass up top, so now we know that difference. And of course we have here tune port injection. It doesn't say 5.7. If there's a coupe, you could have that, but not on a convertible. But this would be 5.7. But tune port injection is a reference to the tuned port induction system on the top of the 305 under the hood. Speaking of the top, let's open this door right here and explore the various certification stickers. You can see right here, here's tire information right here, but this thing here, ASC, this certifies that the surgery done in this car passes muster with the appropriate state and federal agencies, and there it is right there. It's part of every IROC convertible built, and again, that process was done in 1987 through 88. I think 88, 9, and 90, I believe ASC also did the decapitation on these cars for General Motors, who didn't want to take on the expense of a limited production run and cutting the tops off. So it was done by ASC. So inside the car, we see the 115 mile per hour speedometer, which was new for 1988, replacing the absurd 85 mile per hour speedometer, which was a hangover of the smog 70s. But there it is. It says 110, but it actually reads to 115. This one has the tilt column, which is standard fare in the IROC, and power seat, the driver's seat right there. There's an optional item right there, the power seat, leather interior upholstery. And now we'll go to the back of the car and take a peek inside the trunk. And again, like the back seat, there's not much room, for any kind of luggage, and we'll see about that in just a second here. But these have a power trunk release, and it's kind of tricky. What you do, it's electronic, it's high tech, but what you want to do, and by the way, if you wonder where is the trunk key, it's not around here. It's behind the license plate. We see it right here. Turn the key and listen to the motor begin to whir, and then lift like that. It also wants to close on its own too, but again, we can see the top stack mechanism absorbs pretty much all of the room inside of the trunk. Again, you're not going to go for a very long trip in one of these things unless you put your luggage or groceries on the back seat. But again, it's a sporty 2+2 car. And here's the original window sticker to this car. You can see it right here. And this one has the optional tune port motor, has limited slip differential for $100, I believe, right there, and $745 for the TPI LB9 engine, that tune port motor. The base engine was a 160 horsepower central fuel injected 305, kind of tame, but again, this is the optional big dog engine, short of the 5.7, which could be had in a coupe, but not the convertible. So again, if you see it here, the price on this one was $23,270. Again, Corvette territory, and just as much style. I love the red paint on this one. Eye-catching car, great example, very much well preserved for what these things were. Often these were driven hard by their buyers and their owners, but this one's a nice survivor here. So that's the story of the 1988 IROC Z convertible and how it was built by Chevrolet and American Sunroof Company. To see more pictures of this car, go to the high-octane Classics website and check out the photo gallery.